What's happening, people? It is Tottenham versus West Ham this weekend. Here's your opposition preview. I'm joined by Louis for this opposition preview, and it should be a good one because it is, of course, a London derby. Both teams maybe not where they would have wanted to be at the start of the season, but it doesn't mean it can't be a good game. Louis, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. West Ham haven't won a London derby this year till we played QPR in the FA Cup. So still winless in the Premier League on that front.
Not good. Tell people a little bit though about you and what you do in terms of like journalism, the football writing.
Well, my name's Louis. I am a writer for numerous websites. I write for the West Ham Way as an opinion writer, and I also have my own website, westhamfans.org. A site that's been run through the family, very long time, very niche fan base, but articles that probably more speak the truth rather than fake information. So that's sort of where I am with it all.
Love it. Good stuff. We need that, don't we? Sort of going beating around the bush and just say it how it
We
is.
do.
With opinion, you need that definitely, 100%. So no, thank you, and it should be a good one. For those listed on YouTube and you're new, please subscribe. For listening via audio podcast platform, welcome in as well. Drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Make sure to check Louis out as well on the socials, which we'll plug in just a bit. Louis, to kick it off, talk to people about West Ham, what it means to you to support them.
It's a great club. I mean, it's a tough time. I remember speaking to a few people even yesterday. Actually, it's a tough time to be a West Ham fan, but that doesn't make you. You might have your hate against the club, but deep down, we all have some sort of element of aspect of love to it, whether we want to or not. Whether we hate the owners, whether we hate the stadium, we still love the club. The feeling may fade, but the feeling comes and goes. We have good times and bad times, and that's what it is. You celebrate the highs, and you have to reap the not so much reward in the lows.
No, absolutely, yeah, that's the thing, and I can share that with Spurs in terms of the owners, but
Of course,
you still deep down, of course, love the club, even though you're like, come on, you do better upstairs, be ambitious and have some
exactly.
standards. But hey ho, thank you for that one. But I want
Spot
to
on.
review, if you don't mind, your season so far because you are, sorry to bring it up, 18th place, so in the relegation zone in the Premier League with 14 points from 21 games and then minus 21 goal difference. Obviously, with your second manager now, went from Graham Potter to Nuno Espirito Santo. For now, it looks like his job is secure, but maybe this could change in this game, which we'll get onto in a bit. But what have been your thoughts so far on this season? Of course, there's a lot of opportunity here to point blame, finger point, as I call it. Where does the blame lie for you? Why have you struggled and found yourself in the bottom three and looking like you're going to head to the championship?
I think we were already in trouble before the season started. A lot of people tipped us to go down last year amongst our own fan base, and people would call us ludicrous from the outside, but we were correct because we knew we could see this was going to happen. I think to say we finished 14th last season was very glamorous in the end. Much more glamorous than it actually was in that entire season. We just had a lot of teams that happened to be worse than us or fell off at the end. We only got 14th on the final day because we won. And it's really not a surprise to see where we are now. We had Graham Potter over the summer. Limited people were brought in. We started the season with Callum Wilson and Fulker up top, which we knew wasn't going to go well. And neither of which are practically at the club anymore. And we also knew we were short on numbers. We got rid of so many leaders in that window. Got rid of Antonio, Fabianski, Kufau, Emerson, Aged. I mean, the list is endless. And all these players, they knew West Ham. And when you remove all of that, it's okay to have a little bit of a rebuild, get rid of some of the older players, but to not replace them with any leaders is a big, big problem. I can't remember exactly. I think we might have conceded 14 goals in the first 3 games of the season. I can't exactly remember how many it is. Maybe 12. It was a ludicrous amount. We got battered by numerous teams, including Spurs under Graham Potter. And it just goes to show we've had a lot of trouble. Nuno's come in. Everyone before Nuno came in said the biggest issue we had was originally the midfield. And he's managed to change that. Now no one says we need to sign a midfielder. It's all about the defence and attack. And Nuno has his favourites, which can be good, but overall we're struggling. It's a lack of clarity within the club. We're in a stadium we don't like. We have owners we're protesting against. Every week's a week full of complaints. And realistically, we haven't got much hope.
Fair enough. You say it how it is, and it's got to be
It
admired,
is.
just like you do on the Premier League podcast. Thank you. And just having a look here, going back to remind myself as well. So the first 5 games West Ham of this season in all competitions, you conceded 3 against Sunderland,
Yeah.
5 against Chelsea, 3 against Wolves. It's just like crazy. And then you, to be fair, you had that shock win, didn't you? You know, against
Yeah.
Forest. But then you conceded 3 again against us. So it's just constant goals, being leaked. That's a big problem. Would you say you've improved at all defensively under Nuno, even just maybe a little bit?
I think there may have been an improvement, but that improvement is minor and extremely minor. The truth is, I think you could get any manager and the defense wouldn't be good. We just don't have good defenders, and everything went very much downhill when AFCON came along because we lost our 2 wing backs. We lost Wan-Bissaka and Juve. We lost them both due to the competition, and we were forced to bring in, Kyle Walker-Peters, who came in on a free during the summer. He's been very good. But then the left back, we had coming back from injury, Ollie Scholes, who was out for about 8 to 9 weeks with a fractured collarbone, I think it was. He suffered against Leeds, which meant we were forced to play an injured player who hadn't fully recovered. We also brought through another academy kid called Myers, and we've had to play him out of position. So it goes to show we've struggled in all aspects of defence, and we've also still got Max Kilman, who is an everlasting problem in this club.
40 million pounds. Wow.
40 million pounds for a player who simply isn't good enough. I have written countless stats about Max Kilman, and none of them are good. None of them are good. I think he's conceded over 90 goals since joining West Ham. Amongst many others, but it's still him.
I mean, is he worth 20 million? Let's be honest with you right now, market value or what you pay for him. Would you pay 20, half of his price you paid for him?
I can't give you a price, Harry, but what I will say, I think if we go down to the Championship, he won't exactly be a player that people are going to cherry pick. I'll put it like that.
Not good enough to put it that way. I think under that 15 million, 20 million for sure, nowhere near that. In fact, okay, thank you for your honesty. I mean, I want your honesty here as well because you beat QPR, as you said there, 2-1 last time out with a late goal. Some West Ham fans will look at that and go, "Oh, it's just QPR, Championship side," and others that may be a bit more positive will look at that and go, "Okay, yes, we were expected to win, but we showed resilience. We won late, and now I believe we can kick on from that." Do you believe that West Ham can kick off and really inspire something? I'm not saying you're going to go on a 10-game unbeaten run, but you start picking up more results to give yourselves a fighting chance.
I do believe it was good. It was very good. I think I'm definitely not one of those people to say, "Oh, it was just a game against QPR." I think it's a game that has a much bigger picture. If we look at the star of that game, was man of the match winner Somerville. A lot of people have criticised his end product this year, and the truth is his end product against Leeds against QPR was absolutely phenomenal. It was brilliant, and end product's one of those things. It doesn't matter which team you're playing. Maybe the Premier League goalkeeper would have been better quality and he could have saved it, or maybe the defender could have marked his assist better. But these things we can't calculate. It's about player individual form, and he needed something to prove to himself, right? Look, I can go out there, I can do this, and I know I can do this. And I saw towards in extra time, as the game had to go, he was starting to pull out more, skills that we used to see of him do, and more confidence. A fantastic touch round the defender, put the ball in, 2-1. And it's what we really needed. Other players in that team are going to get confidence from it. The fans are going to get confidence. And I also think that the FA Cup draw was yesterday. We have drawn Burton Albion in the next round, who are obviously a lower league team, but I think that gives us confidence within a fan base. Hang on a minute. I can't even tell you the last time West Ham got to round 5 in the Carabao Cup, in the FA Cup. If we were to win that game, we're in the last 16. So there's little things you can clinch onto as a fan base when you're down in these terrible times, and I think the players will do the same. It's a massive boost of confidence we needed.
Okay, thank you. I saw you got Burton. I didn't see if it's home or away though. Do you know which one?
It's away.
Any upset there? I don't like to say it, but you just
Well,
don't. You look at it, don't you, against a struggling Premier League
yeah,
side and put it on TV last game, and just like they try and hype it up to be what amazing win if Burton can pull it off.
of course. I mean, anything can happen, really. At the end of the day, football's not played on paper. On paper, we walk them, but it's not. And anything can happen. We have had many, many upsets in the last couple of years. The ones that you'll bring to mind are the Oxford and the Wimbledon losses. They were brutal. They were very brutal.
Yeah, not good at all. Louis,
No.
thank you very much. Transfer window then. First half has been done by the time this recording gets out. You've had you did have a busy start to it. What have you made of your business so far, firstly? And secondly, what more do you need to do? Because you talk about the end goal, which is ultimately, I'm sure you agree, staying in the Premier League. I personally, as an outsider, as a London rival, look at you and go, if I'm being honest with you, I think you need more in the window if you want to stay up. So I want to get your thoughts on what more you need.
We need a lot more. And I think the problem we've got is we're not going to get more. We're going to lose more. We got rid of Fulkrug at the beginning of the window, which we knew was going to happen. His agent had made that very, very clear a few months before. So that was already written off. He went. So we can see we're trying to go in with a one in and one out system. We got rid of him and we signed Pablo in replacement of him. So that's 1-for-1. We will maybe have gotten rid of Callum Wilson by the time this comes out. We're going to terminate his contract, which is a very interesting decision. We signed Tati Castellanos. He's already scored his first goal for the club and he looks absolutely brilliant so far. I'm very impressed with him. But we have also got rid of other players. We got rid of Guilherme to Sporting. He's left. And maybe not as of yet, but within the coming days, it really does seem like Lucas Paqueta will leave West Ham this transfer window to Flamengo. And my worry is I don't see how that's going to help us. Is it to cover the costs of the money we've already spent? Or is that money that we get from the transfer going to go back into the squad? The truth is, I think it's going to cover the money we've spent, judging by how our history's gone, which is really worrying because against QPR, Mavropanos suffered a very, very bad injury, an injury which saw him down for 8 minutes and he was taken off on a stretcher. It's unknown how long he's out for at the moment, at the time of recording, but we're now down to 2 senior centre-backs again, and they are Max Kilman and Tadibo, which we already know don't work together. They don't work together, and we're going to need to sign it. We're going to need to sign a centre-back, and I don't see us linked to any centre-backs. We were linked with Eric Dyer, who I do think would be great as a leader, but unfortunately it seems like Monaco aren't going to get rid of him because he's only joined last year, so I don't think that's going to happen. And we need more. I mean, we don't need midfielders. We need centre-backs and maybe an attacking midfielder if we get rid of Paqueta. I'm not sure who's going to fit in that role. And if we play Castellanos in that role, I will be very, very upset because Lazio sold him because he was playing in an attacking mid role. He didn't like it. He only likes playing striker. If he signed for West Ham believing he was going to be a striker and he's put down to attacking mid, he'll leave within a heartbeat and he'll be very upset. And it's not what we need right now.
No, you certainly don't need any more unrest or anything like that. Certainly not needed. I saw you were linked the other day with Ethan Pinnock of Brentford. I don't know if that's gone quiet because I haven't seen that since. Would that be the type of profile you take? Because I think personally, again, you're inclined to disagree. You'll know a lot more, but I think maybe he's better than what you've got. Again, I don't think he's perfect, but he adds depth and, is a really good option. And Kilman, I know we joke about it, but, he shouldn't be in the team really at the moment. And Pinnock, probably comes straight into that defence.
No, definitely. I'd take Pinnock in a heartbeat. And to be honest, sorry, I'd take anyone in a heartbeat because I genuinely do believe that Max Kilman does not belong anywhere near this first team. And maybe he can come on as a substitute if it's needed, right, to see out the game. But countless times he's made too many mistakes. And if you take some of the mistakes he's made out of this season, we probably wouldn't be in the relegation zone. And the one that really gets on top of my head is the Bournemouth handball. That one really, really upset me because we were in a prime position to win that game. And he set the runner for them to go and take 2 points off us. And if you just look overall, we need a leader. We need someone experienced. I don't want to see us go and sign a 19-year-old centre back who we're just going to chuck in the team and hope works. That's not what we need. We need someone who, if we are going to go down to the Championship, we need to go down with a fight. Have a leader who goes down with us, he stays with us and say, look, we're going to get back up to the Premier League. We're going to fight for this. We need some sort of maintenance at the back. So I think that's why we are looking at maybe older type of players, like an Eric Dyer, like an Ethan Pinnock. These people in their 30s, Premier League experience, they know how to dig deep in these moments. That is what we need. So any centre-back and that sort of array, we haven't been linked with anyone else at the moment, but anything around that I think would be a great signing for us.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, on the window, Lucas Paquetá, you mentioned earlier. I could be wrong, but I'd be surprised if Nuno was happy about it. I think it'd be a bit disappointed to see Paquetá leave from what we've heard before, and I think his opinion would still be the same. Do you believe deep down, of course, I know you said it will depend on a replacement, but deep down, is that the right thing to do? Because Paquetá, for me, feels inconsistent. When he does play well, you really notice he has a big impact on the game. But as you know, he loves a yellow card. I think the consistency isn't there. I think it'd be all right, wouldn't it? Just my thinking again, that it'd be all right if you signed a competent replacement, but with no guarantee you're going to do that. A bit like Tottenham with Brennan Johnson, we sold him and there's been no one come in. I don't think there will be either. That's where you go, actually, we're probably better to keep hold of the player because, we're just retracting and the squad's getting thinner because we're not replacing them.
My worry is just any West Ham fan could do this, and it's looking at the process of elimination. If we were to sell Paqueta, you think, who can go in that 10 role? We just had, people would say George Earthy, but George Earthy has just gone back to Bristol City on loan, which means the only like-for-like replacement is Castellanos, and it's exactly why he left. So my worry is that we're now relying on maybe, give or take 15, 16 days from when the transfer might have been concluded, if it were to be, to bring in a replacement for a reasonable fee. I just don't see it happening. And this is where I have my concern. I love Paqueta. I'm a bit biased towards him. I love him as a player. He was magnificent the season he joined us, but he is inconsistent. And I do have to admit that, as much as I don't want to. He is very inconsistent. And I think for 40 million euros, which is the rumoured fee that maybe a deal could be concluded as, it would be great. I think it works for both parties. Paqueta wants to go back to Brazil. It's not like he's trying to snub us for another club. In this case, Tottenham were after him. He did reject Tottenham. He didn't want to go. He doesn't want to go to anywhere in England. He wants to go back to his home country, which I can appreciate. I can understand that. He's had a horrible time in England. He's had his career robbed off him because of the FA case. He would have been in Man City, and who knows where he could have been now. But he deserves to go back to Brazil. But in terms of what that's going to do for us, Nuno loves him. Nuno loves him as a player. Nuno wants him in the team. And we're getting rid of a player that the manager wants. It's sort of, I'd say if I was to compare it to another club situation, I would probably compare it to maybe Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace. You're going to lose him. It's the question, is it worth cashing in and taking the cash while you can before he goes? Or do you get much less of a fee later down the line for Paqueta, but you get to keep him for a while? It's very tough. It's a very, very tough choice. I do think he will be sold this window, of my opinion. I think we will give in, and I just have to hope we get a competent replacement. I'm not sure who that could be. We are not linked with anybody at the moment. But if we are, I'm sure some names will be drawn out the hat at some point.
It's interesting. Well, we'll have to see what the rest of the window has in store. He's started quick, but again, as you said, things aren't perfect and they could take a turn for the worse if you sell Paquetá and do not replace. But Louis, moving on to Tottenham, then of course opponents for you guys in this game. What have you made of Spurs so far this season? Because we're not that far above you. There's still a little gap. Don't get me wrong, there is a gap, but Tottenham 14th in the Premier League. So yeah, your thoughts on Spurs so far this season, but also manager Thomas Frank is coming under a lot of pressure. Does he deserve more time?
Yeah, this is going to be the big thing amongst the topic of conversation of whether Frank does or doesn't deserve more time. I think, as a West Ham fan who might have sort of experienced roughly the same thing, I would have said that it's a question of whether is he the right person or is anybody going to be the right person? Because I think if you could put Pep at West Ham in a minute and it wouldn't be the right job. It just wouldn't work out. Is it the same with Spurs? Obviously I don't really know as much, but it's the idea of building and being backed as a manager. For example, we backed Graham Potter. I like to say we backed Graham Potter, and it didn't work. It was right to get rid of him. We backed Lopetegui. It didn't work. We were right to get rid of him. Nuno, obviously, you can't back two managers and back a third manager because of financial reasons. So it's tough. And with Frank, I also think it's tough because it's the same decision when you got rid of Ange. Could you have used that money you spent in the summer to back Ange and reinforce his developments? Same West Ham. Could we have used the 150 million I think Lopetegui spent to reinforce Moyes, his side? Maybe that could have given us an advantage to get back into European football. But with Spurs in a minute, to sit here and say you're 14th, I think is harsh because I think it's better to look at points. You are not very far off European football. And I think if you offered any Spurs fan European football before the season started, you would have bit your hand off for it. And I don't think you're exactly out of the running. You are nowhere near out of the running yet. There's considering the amount of points that there are between Spurs and European places, there's definitely time to get those points so easily. I know it's all ifs and maybes, but with 2 to 3 wins on the bounce, a bit like Newcastle, for example, look how far you could propel up the table. And then I don't think any Spurs fan would be complaining. So I think it's more a matter of time. Obviously, it's if you can win those games, and winning hasn't been a consistent thing for you as of late. You had a great start, but as of late, it hasn't been. But if you could pick up 2 to 3 wins off the bounce, you're okay. You'd be within the European mix, give or take, maybe a point off. But I think that's why time should be warranted, is because you are not out the running. If you were out the running, and I say maybe you'd have maybe 8 points less or something like that, 6 to 8 points less than you currently do, then we might have been on a conversation of, okay, why is Frank still here? But in my eyes, Frank's been doing a very good job for a number of years, and I think he'll get better with time.
Okay, it's interesting. Thank you. I think you've been very balanced there, and it's interesting to get, of course, other fans' perspective on it because you can be closed-minded and just focus on what your own fan base is saying. So, Louis, I do appreciate that. I have to see what happens. It could be a big game for both managers. But what one Spurs player would you take at West Ham and why? If I said to you now in the January window, and you wouldn't have to give something elsewhere, which is good. So, you forget about you're not going to lose any player. Let's just pretend hypothetical. You could gain any Spurs player. I know it makes it difficult being a London rival. Who would it be and why?
Well, I don't know if I should give a less obvious answer, but I mean, I think most West Ham fans would probably take Van der Ven in a heartbeat, wouldn't we, realistically? I mean, he's a phenomenal centre-back. Rivals aside, he's a great centre-back. I don't think many people in the Premier League could sit here and say he's a bad centre-back. He's a very, very good player, and I'd probably say right now the centre-back is our weakest position that we have. So, I mean, if Spurs wanted to cut, if Spurs offered a swap deal for Van der Ven for Kilman, I don't think we'd be saying no. Let's put it like that. So in my mind, it's an easy exchange.
Might have to be some money involved in that one, I think, Goodness knows how much, but no, hypothetical, that's why we asked the question. Hypothetical. Before we go on to the game itself on the weekend, do you have a favourite memory? I know we spoke about it off air previously, between West Ham and Spurs. Anything that sticks with you, a big goal or a game in particular?
If we're going off specifically against Spurs, it's got to be the Lanzini goal. Has to be. That was unbelievable. That whole everything
The goal
about
won
that
the
game.
fact you pulled it back as well, and that it's incredible.
Yeah, everything about that game as well, and like after that game, how we ended up going on a massive charge, and we sort of stopped your winning streak you were on at the time. You were doing really, really well, and you were unbeaten or something like that. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head, but just to be 3-0 down, people turned off the TV. People, we've had it. Moyes has messed up again or whatever, and then to claw back in about 10 minutes from the end of the game from 3-0 down was that. Yeah, that was unbelievable. And the goal, I mean, the finish is sublime. What a player Lanzini was. I miss him.
Yeah, it's an incredible goal, and that sticks with me. Unfortunately, I will say that, but it does. Because I thought the game was done. It's on like 81 minutes, as you say there, and we were 3-0 up. And I thought, West Ham got a consolation. Even if it's 3-2, you look at it and go, what have Tottenham done conceding 2 goals late? Okay, it's a win. We move forward. But 3-3, it just like,
Yeah.
it felt like it was never going to happen at the end. Although you had all the ball on that and we conceded 2 and looked vulnerable, I thought, okay, look, realistically, this is not going to happen. It's going to take something special. And just as you start to think that, you just see that from Lanzini and you get a bad feeling when it comes off his foot, thinking, oh, God, please no. It's the goal itself. It's the fact you pulled it back for 3 goals. It's the timing of the goal. It's just so many things about it.
Yeah.
Then the celebration from Moyes. Yeah.
It was brilliant. The shirts off from Lanzini, and then the aftermath after the game. It's just everything about it. It was just a great moment for us. And that's probably one of the golden ones against Spurs.
I agree with that. Okay, on to the game then. Keen to get away from that moment if you can't tell, but I'll be honest. But how do you feel out of this one? Are you confident going into it? Do you believe, looking at how Spurs in particular are playing at the moment, that you feel you can go and get a result?
It's a game where we haven't won in the Premier League since November. It's since early November as well. By the way, that's not late November. It's early November. I think off the top of my head, I believe it's November the 9th. And it was against Burnley. Since then, we've all fallen apart. We've picked up draws since then. We've been close on wins. We've been up in games. We were against Brighton heading into half-time. We were winning. I believe we were. Against Villa heading into half-time, we were winning 2-1. In these games, we've been winning. We've just not had enough to get over the line. I think, again, both teams are struggling. No one's going to walk this game. I think this is going to be a very, very ugly match. Very ugly match. A lot of negative football between the two sides. Probably, I guarantee you across the game that we'll have Spurs fans complaining at Spurs and we'll have West Ham fans complaining at West Ham. It's going to be a clash, and it will definitely not be high scoring. I'll tell you that. It screams a 1-0 or a 1-1 or a 2-1 somewhere. If you're lucky, 2-1. And look, we've recently had this thing of giving away penalties, so that might be a thing for us. We've given away 4 penalties in the last 3 matches, I think, in the Premier League. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's going to be chaos. Spurs love a red card. We love to give away a penalty. Both managers can play negative football. It's going to be a... when you look at the Premier League fixtures, and you might see, with the utmost respect to these teams, we might have seen like last year, maybe a Southampton versus Ipswich on TV or something like that. And you would have thought, right, I won't be turning TV on for that one. This will be a glorified fixture of that. We've just got 2 bigger names in those 2 clubs. I think it will be a very, very ugly game, considering where both managers play. I think we'll have more confidence because we beat QPR, but that's the only thing we have confidence to run off of. If you take that out of the equation, it's just negative. And I hope we don't have any hidden injuries, because if we do, we'll be in even more trouble.
I mean, this could come back to bite and haunt me, but I don't think it will. So both Thomas Frank and Nuno, I think their jobs are okay going into the game. They'll both be in the dugout. I'm 99% sure of that in this game. Does it feel like one of these? Because not only would it be, depending on which way it goes, if it goes that way at all, 'cause it could be a draw, but one of them's going to lose, of course. And, both managers, like, another loss is not good, A. but B, because it's a London derby and because that means more, it means more for the fans in particular, as well as I'm sure the club. I think that just increases pressure. So do you think it could be one of those where it is El Sacco? Thomas Frank, loses. Spurs fans are like, another London derby we've lost. West Ham aren't great with all due respect this season, and it doesn't look good for him at all on top of the Arsenal Cup incident and all things that have happened recently. And for Nuno, West Ham fans be like, right, let's draw the line. We could be 10 points adrift, unlikely, but 10 points adrift by the end of the weekend. And we've just lost a London derby. It feels like it could be a turning point for both managers, meaning, look, this is the beginning of the end, if not. It might be the end of the end, if that makes sense, but it just feels like either way, one could go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, there's no need to say utmost respect to West Ham being bad this year because we're in the drop zone and we're 7 points in the drop zone. It's not like we're in there by a point. We're 7 points in there. So we are bad. And I think, honestly, at the end of this game, no matter what the result is, it's going to be a negative because if West Ham win, Spurs lose, there's going to be Frank out. If West Ham lose, there'll be Nuno out. And if we draw, it's bad for both teams because both get nowhere. Right. We'll be still continue our winless run and Spurs will still be winless as well. So either way, at the end of this game, no matter who you are, there's going to be a loss to both sides of the fan base and managers. I think if I was to make a prediction of which manager I think is more likely to get sacked in the context of maybe the game or after the game or the future or just first in general, I believe it would probably be Frank. And the reason why is I think the West Ham board have accepted that no matter who we get as a manager, we are probably going to go down. And it's more in a situation where we might be better to just give Nuno some time. We might just be better to sit there, try our luck and see if it can work. Against Nottingham Forest, which was the 6-pointer, which we lost, that was a game where I think we were unfortunate. Most fans in the stadium walked out feeling sad rather than feeling we played a bad game. We actually played quite a good game. We just didn't win. We didn't get anything from it. And that was with the new signing. So maybe I'm clinching onto straws here, but maybe Nuno's new signings could have a big impact. I mean, you saw Castellanos got the winner against QPR. I'm not going to big it up because it is against QPR, but maybe that could translate to the Premier League. And it's an unknown, and we have to realistically go into every single game believing we can win because otherwise we'll just go down. It's what Wolves have done. Wolves had one good game against West Ham, of course, and now they've continued their form. They've now got 5 points in the last 3, and they beat was it Shrewsbury? Maybe they beat Shrewsbury 6-1 in the cup.
Yeah, essentially, Shrewsbury Town. Yeah.
Point being, their last 4 games they haven't lost. They're now picking up form. I'm hoping we can do the same and pick up form in that way from the cup. From a freak result, get us moving on. Spurs is probably one of the most ideal oppositions to play at the moment for both sides. I think that is. I think West Ham will be very happy to play Spurs at the moment, but I think Spurs will also be happy to play West Ham. It's a derby. Things are going to be fiery. Anything can happen.
Exactly that. Anything can happen. Just while I think of it, I should have mentioned it earlier, but Jared Bowen, I think it was a statement he put, wasn't it, on social media addressing West Ham fans. What did you make of that? And did you see that come in at all?
I think it was needed. I think, we're not silly. We know the situation that's going on, and he's not silly. They're not blind to it. They obviously know that we are facing the drop at the minute. The fact is, if the season ended tomorrow, we'd be down, and he recognises that. And he's also had a lot of criticisms being the captain. Has he got the leadership quality that the armband really does represent and should uphold and whatnot? It's one of those things that he's now gone on to address in a very long, very, very long statement, speaking about the FA Cup and how important it is. And it was nice, actually, to see a statement that was backed. It was very nice. He made a statement before the game saying how important the Cup was. It did take us more than 90 minutes, but we did win in the Cup. And it's nice to see that, see the actual statement being backed. Obviously, we need it in the long term. But I think it was more a state of rather than reassurance towards the fans, I think it was more him putting out there, in other words, as a squad, we do understand what is going on, and we do know we need to be better. It's not that we think we're good. We do recognise the position we are in, and we're going to do our best to get out of it. That's what I think the statement was more of, rather than trying to appease to the fans.
He was honest as well, wasn't he, in the statement about his
Yeah.
own performance? He's not happy with the heights that he's hit, and taking responsibility as a captain would. So no, Louis, really appreciate that. If I get your score prediction, if I was to say to you now, I ask you this a lot, of course, on the Premier League podcast. If I was to say to you, draw, would you take a draw and move on? Bear in mind the situation you're in, 7 points adrift.
I don't think I would, Harry. And the reason why is, yes, it'd be a point, and that's assuming we get a point closer, assuming Nottingham Forest would lose. I'm not entirely sure who they're playing. But the point is,
Arsenal,
a point,
I think. I swear it's Arsenal.
A point is not enough. A point is not enough. We're not going to get out of a relegation scrap if we keep chipping away 1 point each week. If we draw the next 6 match weeks, and we draw the next 7 match weeks, and Forest lose all their next 7. Well, A, Dyche would probably have been sacked by then, and B, we would have just caught up to them. Like, it's not enough. There's not enough games left to do this draw game. We need a win. We need a win. Obviously, it's all in the context of the game. If we're 2-0 down and we come back to 2-2, I'm going to be very, very happy to take a draw. But from the game being 0-0 at the beginning, we need to win. We need to win for the sake of our season, for the sake of a fan base. If we can win against Spurs, as a fan base, that could prove to us, hold up in a minute, we might have a chance of survival. Because we've just beaten a London rival. We've not beaten a London team this year, if you take QPR out of the question. It looks like the table might be turning. It just ever so slightly, it might have been. But we need that win to be able to say that. And if we had a draw, I don't think many people would be saying that, which is why I say a win is crucial to stay up.
I think that'd be fair to say you need a result, put that back to 4 points, and assume that Forest get nothing in that game. I mean, is there any outside possibility that high-flying Leeds, of course, did lose Newcastle last time out in the Premier League, but still look good? Is there any chance that they or Bournemouth, or I won't talk about the club above that because it's Tottenham, but let's just stick to those two. Could they get drawn into any uncomfortable situation at the bottom? And when I say uncomfortable, Louis, I'm thinking like 2 games to go and like maybe one of them's 3 or 4 points from safety where, they're still in it until the end kind of thing.
I think if I was to pick one of the 2 teams out of the ones you just named, I would probably lean more towards Bournemouth. I think Leeds have got a much stronger mentality than Bournemouth. But I think Bournemouth at the moment, they had some bad investments. Not bad investments over the summer, because they bought Krupi and whatnot. But I think they could have reinvested better. They could have been more signings, as in just to build up the numbers rather than individual quality here. And they've just lost Semenyo, of course. If a replacement is identified and the money is spent somewhere within the squad, still half of January window left, could very possibly happen. They're going to be all right. But if in the event that they don't, I do see them perhaps slipping ever so slightly. Maybe, I don't think it will be to the drop zone, but I think if it was to be one of those 2 sides, it could be. And to argue the side of Leeds as well, West Ham do play Leeds on the final day. We have to look at it as a possibility. It could be a game that keeps us up or sends us down. We are at home. I know we still have to play. We obviously still have to play Leeds, but it's going to be tough. I think we still have another game against Wolves, despite the fact we've already lost twice to them this season. We do still have another game against them, and these games we need to hope to pick up points in. We've got game against Burnley as well. There's teams where we have to just sit here and say we need to win. Bournemouth, if you take out their last minute winner, their last win would have been since November. So it goes to show they might build up on this win, and everything I've just said is completely irrelevant. But if they have a run of form as they did from November to December, and they have that again, in this next part of the season, they will be in trouble.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And that's a frustration amongst Spurs fans. We gave Bournemouth their first win since the end of October, their first in 11, nearly 12. The result before that was close, but they drew it in the end. So, 11 Premier League games. And it's just like, what? But at the same time, I think it's fine margins. That's the thing. It's fine margins that arguably Spurs and West Ham, I think, I'll be honest with you, have been awful this season. But I also think the
Yeah.
fine margins in games, you against Forest, us against Bournemouth, where you go. To be fair, whatever you think about both managers, both whatever, they're both very close to getting a result. And correct me if I'm wrong. And I just feel, looking at it with West Ham, I felt before that Forest game that you were in an uncomfortable position. And I still, hand on heart, thought that, do you know what, you'll fight it to the end. But after you lost that Forest game, even though you played really well, it kind of hit me, and I'm sure hit a load of others. Oh, the West Ham actually, do you know what, they probably will be playing Championship next year. And that was a strange thought because, even as a Spurs fan, I looked at you and thought, it wouldn't surprise me if you stayed up. It just felt like that 6-pointer was, well, obviously factually was lost, but it felt significant, didn't it? Especially when you didn't deserve it. Didn't deserve to lose, I should say.
I think it felt significant, but maybe not. Maybe more to the outside rather than the inside. I think when we were 4 points away initially, people already thought we would go down still because we just lost to Wolves. You speak there about giving Bournemouth their first win in ages. We gave Wolves their first win, their only win, and we also lost to Fulham as well, and we also then didn't beat Brighton. Those were the 3 games, and then Forest afterwards. They were the 4 games that people sat there and thought, right, this is where we're going to pick up points. And we walked out of that entire thing, those 4 games, with 1 point. It doesn't come as a shock. Maybe if we had beaten Forest, people would have gained confidence. But from the inside, it was already bad at -4. And now we're at -7. We're now so far away. And again, this whole thing can change because I think if we pick up 2 wins on the bounce and Forest lose 2 maybe, or another side lose 2, people might start thinking, hang on a minute, Nuno's got this all sorted out now with some new players. We might have a chance. But are we going to get more players? Are we going to get anyone? It's questions that can't be answered.
Frustrating times, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Off to see what happens. Before we get to some end of season predictions for both clubs, which is the all important moment, particularly for West Ham, find out what division they'll be playing in, but also for Spurs, whether it be 14th or, 6th, could be a huge difference. Big swing, as Louis says there rightly, is very tight in points. And ultimately, Leeds and Bournemouth aren't too far behind Tottenham, but also we're not too far away from that kind of, even if we're being reasonable and saying top 7, top 8, realistic for sure. I think Brentford are in 5th, put it that way. So, it's very tight, and that all of a sudden, they lose the next 3. Make no mistake about it. They're 11th or 12th, if not further down. That's how things change really quickly. But Louis, can I get your honest score prediction for this game? How you honestly feel, hand on heart, that you think, what will the score be, and who do you think is going to get these goals, if any?
I have a feeling it's going to be what I said. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think this is going to be a null game where
I agree with you.
I reckon West Ham will get an early lead, maybe somewhere in the first half, 20, 30 minutes in. We'll score, maybe, I'll go with a Castellanos goal. Why not? And then I reckon Spurs will probably equal in maybe the 50th minute or something. We like to concede early on in the halves. We don't really keep on very well. Probably Spurs will score, and I'll go with Simmons. Don't go for him to score, and I reckon the last 30 minutes of that game will just be played out. Both teams having chances, and probably from the 80th minute onwards, both managers will accept getting a draw, and we'll call it there. Play back the football, and we'll all go home with a point, and then West Ham fans will try and get some sort of positivity if Forest have lost. That's what I think.
That's the thing, yeah. See, I agree with you, 1-1, by the way, but I think that's the problem, especially with you, the situation you're in, but also us. Like, let me be really blunt. You will stay 18th, if not lower, if you keep drawing games, and Tottenham will stay 14th and go lower if anything as well. If we keep drawing games, it's all right for Thomas Frank to go to Brentford and go, yeah, they score a lot of goals, we'll take a 0-0 draw. That's great, but are we going to have a go to try and win the game? If you go to somewhere and take a point, I don't mind too much being defensive against Brentford because they scored 4 goals against Bournemouth. They scored a lot of goals, right? And, I think Arsenal, the only team that won at the GTEC this year. So I totally get that. I'm not going to say and go, I expect us to win necessarily. I'm not one of those fans. But I do think even if it be via set pieces or 1 or 2 even counterattacks in a half, have a go and, counter. And, even if you're going to be too brave, it's not the fact that we weren't even brave and had a go. We literally had 1 attack in the game. You had 1 corner and 1 attack. That was it. It's just horrific. And the XG for both sides was 1. And that 1 was over really 1 chance. It was over 1 corner because he won the first header and it was in the 6-yard box. I just think, really? This is like, how far have we fallen to be going here and taking a draw? If we, like where we're Brentford are 5th, okay, take a draw, not the end of the world. Or even in Chelsea-Liverpool situation, you take a point, okay, it's not disastrous, but where we are, you have to start going, you're not going to catch the teams above that are winning if you draw. It's just like, come on. But if it's a draw, fine. I'm not going to throw my toys out the pram, but try and win. How do you know they're not? That's my point is, I'd like to say to Thomas, right, I like you, Thomas, but like, how do you know that Brentford aren't having a bad day defensively because we haven't even tried or tested? There could be a calamity. There could be Max Kilman times 10, but we don't know that. We just don't have a go. That's just how, just honestly, things that frustrate me. But the next thing is important, and that is end of season predictions. Louis, you've been extremely honest with me. You are every time, and I know how difficult that is because we all want to put our tinted glasses on, and every Spurs fan sitting there and go, yeah, I believe we can get Europe, or yeah, I believe this. But to be honest, it's hard in football. But I think you're incredibly good and talented at doing that. So where do you think West Ham will finish this season? Ultimately,
it's very tough, but I do believe. I know a lot of people have said that. Maybe this game was a 6-pointer, or that game was a 6-pointer, and whatever. But I think if we go in the context of a West Ham and Spurs game here tonight, in a few days, if West Ham can beat Spurs in a London derby, I think the squad will have the mentality to go on and win. We can beat anyone, because that's what Nuno will want to integrate into the players. I will be confident here, and I'm going to say we'll finish around 17th or 16th in the season and we'll stay up. But I do believe that after the Forest game was 1 nail in the coffin out of 2. If we lose against Spurs, in considering the context of both clubs at the moment, if we lose against Spurs, I think that's us gone. Completely gone, regardless of what we do in the window or not do in the window. I think that will be us down and out, because we'll have. It's more in the context than just you just lost the game. It's more so we can't beat a London team. We can't beat our biggest rivals. We have no fight. We're not showing anything. We're just down and out. We're dead and buried, waiting for the season to end. That's what this game is going to tell us about. It's come at such a fighting time for us. So I will say that we will finish 16th or 17th and stay up in the Premier League is my message. But if we are to lose this game, I will come onto the Premier League podcast the week after and say we will go down, because I firmly believe that. I believe that for a few weeks, and I believe that after Forest happened, I said if we don't beat Spurs next, we are gone.
It's interesting, though, you say 16th or 17th. Are you a little bit more positive now you've had that start of the window where you bought in 2 players? Again, I don't think it's perfect. I think your owners, David Sullivan, big problem. You will know that. You tell me all the time, and rightly so. And you could speak a lot more about that even. But the point is you've bought in 2 players, and at least you're not in the situation we right now at Tottenham, right? And we don't need as much as you in terms of we're not in a relegation scrap. Well, I hope we're not anyway, unless you've got some nasty surprise. Might lose this, you never know. God, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Let me tell you that. But what we'll say is we will start. This will change because we've got some exciting news coming. But the point is, the time we're recording on the 13th, and again, I'm not talking about what's going to happen. Factually, if I'm being blunt about it and closed-minded, we've signed nobody to date, and we've retracted because we sold Johnson. So I think you've had a positive start to the window. Has that made you more positive?
Yes and no. I believe I believe Pablo will take a lot of time to get in, and there may
Yes.
be even be a chance that he will not be successful this season. Uh, but I believe with time he could adapt. There's things to his game that I do like, but there's a lot of things to his game I do not like, and he will need to improve on massively. I think Castellanos is a very big upgrade. He maybe some West Ham fans will agree with me. He gives the element, maybe not in exactly the same way, but he gives the element of Arnautovic, something we've missed at this club for a very, very long time. A player who runs, a player doesn't mind getting stuck in, will go in for a challenge, will chase down the keeper when he's got the ball at his feet. We'll do these sort of things. We've been dying for a player to have like that. The energy levels is very, very admirable. And he will go for those chances. You know, I saw him against QPR. Instead of going for a diving header, he went for a bicycle kick. He didn't get the ball, he didn't go on target, but he went for it. You know, he's trying. That's what we want to see: some passion, some effort in the club. And I think it was a positive start to the window. But if we don't sign anyone else for the rest of the window, it's a shocking window. It's the first time we've signed 2 players in a window in January since 2019. You know, we don't do it very often, but we need a lot more. You know, we need maybe a winger in there, or if we're going to sell Paqueta, we need an attacking midfielder. We need a centre back. That's the most important one. 1 or 2 centre backs is a guarantee. We need them. So I have some element of positivity because to get 2 deals concluded within, as of recording, the 13th of January is quite decent. You know, whether they were at the beginning or not, 2 signings in 13 days is very good in my books. But we need at least 2 or 3 more signings in the next, 18 or so days, however many it is. We need more signings. And at the moment, it's been positive, but it's not enough. We have to do exactly what we did in the first 13 and the last 13. We need more.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, so you think 1-1, right? And does that leave you with that impression that you will finish 16th or 17th, or is that solely if you do win this game? Because of course, 2 points makes a massive difference where you are right now.
That's why I've sort of hedged my bets on everywhere. No, I think we need. I think we'll finish 17th or 16th if we win. But a draw,
Okay.
I have a worrying feeling it will be a downbeat draw where we can't, fight. And it pains me to say that we might go down. It pains me. So I have an aspect. On one hand, I have an element of positivity, but on the other hand, it would be quite delusional for me to sit here and say that I'm very confident we'll go and beat Spurs on Saturday. That is, I can't sit here and say that, but I also can't sit here and say here that we're going to go down. So I've gone with the 1-1, but I think if we win, we will stay up. That's my sort of.
I'm going to be difficult, aren't I? And say if you had to commit to one place, and it's not just you, I'll do this all, don't worry. But if I had to, hand on heart now, say where you think you will be based on, you think, let's say ends 1-1, where will West Ham be? You're not where you think, 60s or 17th if you win the game. If it goes to your plan and draws, where's that leave you and where will you end up being?
I'll say 17th, Harry. I can't. I
Okay.
can't say it. I don't have the heart to sit here and say that
I'm
we go
trying.
down. Whether it's true or not, whether we sign people or not, I have to sit here and have some sort of element of positivity because amongst this fan base, we have very little of it. And I think if we can have it one way or another, if it's mixed in with a bit of unrealism and biased and whatnot, I've got to say it because no team has ever escaped the drop at Christmas once being 5 points within the relegation zone. We are now 7 points away.
It's got
We
worse.
have been known to do the great escape. We are known as that. And if any club is going to do it again, it could be us. Whether we will break the history record, I don't know. But I will sit here and say we will be doing it. So that's my element of positivity of reassurance of this West Ham fan base, is we are going to do it and we will stay up.
Okay, I appreciate the positivity. I mean, it's something that's needed right now, I'm sure, at your club. But Louis, on that note, I think it's been a great discussion. So thank you very much for your time. Where can people follow you? Remind people on social media.
Oh, it's the social media is Louis and then VANNN, Louis Van, and then on websites I write for westhamfans.org, which is my own website, and I'm also opinion writer on the West Ham Way, which is quite a much more bigger website where I write my various opinions on players, reviews, signings, targets, everything, a whole lot.
Louis, thank you very much. So usually I say good luck for the rest of the season, but I don't know whether to say it or not. Wish you personally, though, you the best, of course.
I will take it. I'll take it.
You get that as a compromise, but no, I really do appreciate your time, though. In all seriousness, and of course, people don't know regular on the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast, which is great. I mean, you need a Scarfey Talks Championship podcast maybe next year. Excuse me saying that, but no, for your sake, I really want you on the podcast. So it was me thinking, I do want my son to go down, but I want Louis as part of the podcast. I'm like, which one do you take, which one do you not? Be killed by Spurs fans if I say that, what you stay up so you could be on. But thank you very much for joining me. It should be not maybe the greatest in the eye this weekend, but it's significant. It's one that will draw people in because it's a London derby. It will draw people in that are interested about West Ham survival. Because let's be honest with you, it draws Forest fans in instantly. For Tottenham, of course, it draws any rival fans and anyone. Ultimately, if you're Brentford right now, you think probably Spurs aren't going to catch us, but we still got to watch out just in case and things like that. So it's a game that I think are actually be watched by so many people compared to recent weeks of both teams. But maybe they won't be tuning in for very long. We link it to YouTube. The audience retention might be very, very low, but we'll have to see. We'll let Nuno and Thomas decide who's going to park the bus in this one. But thank you very much for listening via YouTube. Please subscribe. If you're listening via audio podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. You're going to have to fill for one of us because one of us might be upset after this one. But thank you for now.